Who will win Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year this upcoming season for 2026 in the NFL? I'm going to deliver my futures picks for both awards based on past trends that seem to indicate where you should be looking. Before I get into it on today's video, first of all, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the great content during this football season, but also go and sign up for the Beat the Geek contest, where you could end up winning prizes every single week or the grand prize of an NFL trip for two. It is free to sign up, going over to thesportsgeek.com. All right, as I stated, I dug into some trends from the last 5 winners of Offensive Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. To start things off with Offensive Player of the Year, we've had 3 wide receivers. We have had 2 running backs win this award. Every single winner that has won it in the last 5 years has led the NFL in one statistical category. So we're not giving this award to somebody based on merit because they were the best player on the best team. This is not like the MVP award. It very clearly goes to who was the most productive offensive player in the NFL. And the scrimmage yardage floor for those guys was 1,800 yards. Every player that won the last 5 years put up gaudy numbers. But most importantly, being the best offensive player typically meant that their team was in the hunt for the playoffs. All 5 players played on teams that reached the playoffs with at least 12 wins. So my focus with this was looking for guys that are on good teams that are in positions to explode. So who's not going to be in a spot where attention could be diverted to other players, or touches rather wouldn't be diverted to other players? Who is going to be the sole primary reason for their team's success, wouldn't get held back for X, Y, or Z problems with the team, and who is going to be in the hunt for the playoffs? The first guy that I really like is Ja'Marr Chase at plus 1,000. To me, this year has a boom or bust potential for the Cincinnati Bengals. Considering Joe Burrow is going to be back and healthy, and there was a big investment in improving their defense, I like the idea of the Bengals improving dramatically this season and being a playoff team once again. They're boom or bust because if that doesn't come to fruition, then they're just going to be an injured mess like they've been over the past couple of years, or worse, they could miss the playoffs because their defense isn't fixed and they're getting completely dogged in high-scoring affairs. But even if that does happen where they just barely, or they just sneak their way in, Ja'Marr Chase is going to put up gaudy numbers. Ja'Marr Chase has been productive and successful despite Joe Burrow not being on the field. And I feel as if Joe Burrow finally has a full healthy year, this is like the first time in a while that there hasn't really been some sort of looming issue going into the season. If Burrow's healthy, it's only going to enable Ja'Marr Chase to be extra productive. They're going to need him to put up top receiver numbers this season in order to actualize that success that many people are projecting for them this year. The other guy that I like, and there weren't a lot of options that I loved unless I dug super deep and went with a deep sleeper pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown at plus 2,500 is an interesting one for me because a lot of people right now, leading odds for most books, has Jahmyr Gibbs. And as much as I love Jahmyr Gibbs and I think that he is going to be really productive this year, I'm really fearful of what this offensive line is going to be like this year. It keeps getting banged up. They can't get out of their own way when it comes down to staying healthy for an upcoming year. I don't love the fact that you're losing a starting center to a serious injury. I feel like that could negatively affect Jahmyr Gibbs, not to the point where he has a mediocre season, but in order for him to have that 1,800-yard scrimmage season, it's going to require for him to rip off quite a few long runs, and he's capable of that. And that small factor with how dependent running back success is on offensive line performance makes me wary. That's why I think that the Lions are going to be better this year, and they're going to be back in the playoffs. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to need to have another special season in order to get them to that point, to maybe win the NFC North. And if that doesn't end up coming to fruition, he's going to have to go off. And we've seen him go off. We've seen him produce at a ridiculously high level. I think another interesting part about this is with a possibly dinged up offensive line that is dealing with issues, teams are going to really, really key in on Jahmyr Gibbs. They're going to try and do everything possible to limit his touches. And I think that opens the door for a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is so capable of putting together like really, really productive games, just like gaudy stats week in and week out. He's one of these dudes that catches every ball that's thrown his way. He makes so many people miss after the catch because he's arguably the best yak receiver in the NFL. He is a sneaky pick that I think more people should be paying attention to. Now moving on to Defensive Player of the Year. I am only going to pick edge rushers. It has been mostly an edge award in the past 5 years. Pat Surtain's the only non-pass rusher to win this award. The 4 pass rushers who won it averaged 19.5 sacks. So insane numbers from these guys. Team success is not required, but it seems to be a factor, at least because, well, not because Garrett won on a 5-12 team. TJ Watt won on a 9-7-1 team, but it feels like it is generally important to be the best player on the best team. That is going to help you win the award because you're in the public eye outside of breaking the sack record like Myles Garrett did. One thing I found really interesting, though, draft pedigree has an attachment to who wins Defensive Player of the Year. All the guys that have won it in the past 5 years have been first-round picks. Very rarely does this go to the unheralded guy who is making waves that was the day 2, day 3 pick. Oftentimes, this goes to the ridiculously athletic, supremely dominant player that was drafted early. And I think that for that reason, there's 2 players that make the most sense. Going with Myles Garrett to win the award again at plus 450. He has an awesome supporting cast for him this upcoming year on the Rams, especially if Aaron Donald returns. Even though he probably won't put up crazy numbers, he's still going to free up Garrett to not have purely just straight up double teams on every single play. But being on this Super Bowl contending team, I think is going to elevate our discourse around Garrett now that he's no longer on the Browns. And we have to watch him lose a 14-10 game because the offense sucks and it's meaningless. Him being in the playoff hunt, Super Bowl hunt, I think is going to like really, really build up the discussion around Myles Garrett. Even though we already talk about him a ton, I feel like we're going to talk about him even more, and that adds fuel with media coverage to him winning the award. The other guy that I love and I think absolutely breaks through this year is Will Anderson at plus 700. I feel like Will Anderson has been banging on the door to win this award for some time now. His sack production has jumped and jumped since he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He is turning into an unblockable force. And the way that he has attacked building his body, it's very clear that this guy is detail-oriented. He's focused. He is locked in and seeking an award like this. But most importantly, he is on a team, on a defense that has an amazing supporting cast that doesn't require him to be the only player going out there and making plays in order for them to win. He can have a down game, but I think that ultimately, because they've got a deep interior line group, Danielle Hunter's awesome, and a fantastic secondary, the collective unit boosted by Will Anderson's talent allows for him to put up even more ridiculous numbers. If he has an 18-19 sack season, then he absolutely will win this award. I think that if he performs that well, that means the defense is the best in the NFL. And most importantly, the Texans are in the hunt to go on a run during the playoffs this year. If you agree with me or disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. Who are your picks to win Offensive or Defensive Player of the Year this season? And also, please do me a favor, go on over to thesportsgeek.com and sign up for our Beat the Geek contest where you could win an NFL trip for 2 or other weekly prizes. It is free to sign up. I'll catch you folks later. It's almost football season.